place and all that.
Yeah, it's been going great. I mean, obviously, knowing the head football coach, knowing this program, being a part of that program the last 6 seasons, we know what to expect. What I didn't know, what I didn't know how to expect was kind of the community, the building, the boys, the guys on the team. So that's the bit of the transition. And then Coach Rossi working with him and learning a new scheme and doing those things. It's been smooth. So.
How has that been different? What things have you seen from Joe's defense that maybe are different than you guys did before? Things that maybe kind of jump out like, oh, that's kind of unique.
Well, Coach Rossi's had a lot of success, defensively. So I was just excited. I didn't look for anything really what's different. I just wanted to dive in on what made his defense successful and try to be a part of it as much as I can.
You inherit a lot of experience at D-tackle, at least, with guys like Harmon and Barrow and Everett. I'm just wondering your outlook at that position and that sort of room overall and how those guys are progressing.
Well, I'll tell you what, the whole room, the guys in the room, I can't be happier with the guys in the room in terms of just who they are. These are some incredible young men. So I've been fortunate to kind of walk into that room, be a part of that room. They probably taught me more about Michigan State than I've taught them so far. So we've gotten into spring ball, so we're learning a little bit more football. So, but it's always nice when you walk in the room and you got guys that's played a lot of football, a lot of experience, guys that's had some success playing the position. So that's helped with the transition, no doubt.
Did you have any conversations with Derek and Simeon about when they were making the decision whether to stay, and same with Maverick on coming back for the extra year?
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of those conversations. I mean, number one is these, the last 10 weeks that the staff and obviously the players that was a heck of a deal for them, and so it wasn't easy on anybody. And so, yeah, absolutely. We try to meet with everybody that was here on the roster, especially the group. And it really is just more so introducing myself, what they can expect from me, and hopefully the program we're trying to create here, trying to recreate some of the success they've had here. They've had a lot of success here at Michigan State in the past. And so, and those are the conversations. I couldn't tell you. Obviously, they've had some scars about what just occurred for them, and it wasn't my job to fix those scars. It was just my job to just come in, introduce myself, and hopefully how I can help them continue to develop as football players and as people.
How much do you rely on them as anchors? So having that experience and played so much football here. Everything you hear starts in the middle out.
Yeah. No question. I mean, yeah. Whenever you have that much experience on the defense, and those guys have a lot of experience, we're going to lean on them going into the game.
Can you elaborate on what you learned about Michigan State? You referred to that a couple of times that maybe you didn't know before you came here.
Well, as a football guy, being in college football, you always known how successful they were here and the tradition they've had here. So that was nothing new. Learning about Michigan State, like this campus is unbelievable. When the sun's out like this, I was just sitting there after practice talking about, man, this is incredible. That piece, the people in the building, how supportive the community is for the team. So, all those things put together, the recruiting base this area has. I mean, the state of Michigan, the high school football in this state, and then really the high school football in the 3-hour radius of this place. And so there's a lot of qualities that exist in this place that we think, obviously can be to our advantage.
From Saturday's scrimmages, what did you like? What did you not like?
Well, I really like that we got the scrimmage. Obviously we had some bodies that were down early part of the scrimmage, banged up a little bit. So just getting out there and just playing football and seeing what these guys can do when it's live, when there's not a coach, it's not a script, that these guys are just playing. And so I like that part a lot. Our job is to hopefully their natural reactions, the way they play is the way we want them to play. So the scrimmage helps identify some of those things that we need to continue to work on or we need to address. So that was nice. And then also, like I said, when there's a scrimmage piece, it's 11 guys on the field that are working together to try to accomplish something. So, and I thought we did some really good things as a defense in terms of just working together. And then there's some times we didn't work together and obviously didn't work in our favor. So coming out of that scrimmage, we have a little bit better idea of what guys can do for the most part. Fundamentally, what we need to pay attention to, the action plan these next 2 weeks, and trying to get those fixed before we take the pads off and head into summer.
Dion, you I mean, not that there isn't experience at the end, but it seems a little more open of a position than tackle.
Yeah.
I guess who have you seen in that position?
Well, you know, the best part about spring is that we don't got to get ready to play for a game, right? So our main focus is just development and then obviously teaching what our fundamentals is. So right now there is no necessarily a depth chart. It's just trying to be the best football player we can be, instill some fundamentals that we believe it takes to be a good defensive lineman in our system. So yeah, and we got some bodies there. I mean, it's inside, obviously there's more experience inside than it is outside, but there are some guys that are outside that's got some experience. So that's really our focus in spring ball. It's not necessarily trying to set the depth chart. It's trying to be able to implement and lay a foundation of what we need to do to get ready for fall.
What is the difference in the big end position versus that rush end that Chad coaches? I know you guys are sort of separated a little bit.
Yeah,
what are the differences in
there-
skill set and just assignment and all that?
Yeah, so it's not really too much different. Obviously, like being an inside guy and outside guy, I think it's structured in a way that each individual player gets the attention he needs to be the best football player he can be. Coach Wilkes done an exceptional job throughout his career developing players, so that's really the advantage of it gives us. There is some little intricacies in terms of what makes them a little bit different, but in the grand scheme of things, we have an end that can play his rush, and we got rushes that can play in.
I asked Joe about this, but when you're trying to implement something new and teach it, you know, the theme has gone away from the tackling in practices. I guess how do you kind of envision? I mean, how does thud work for up front when versus everything full bore 100% all the time?
Well, hopefully everything we do in practice, even in thud, like we can't take guys to the ground, but in order to be good tacklers, you got to get yourself in good positions to tackle. And so, like I think thud and even tag tempo is still teaching tackle because our approach to the ball carrier. You know, the last part is putting our body on somebody and getting the ball carrier down, which you can't necessarily do that. You know, it's a physical game, so you try to find ways to alleviate some of that pressure. But by any means, every practice to us and how we approach it is that we're working on tackling, regardless whether we take the guy down or not. It's more so how we approach the ball, how we press the hip. And then obviously what type of tackle that our guys can relate to us on what tackle techniques needs to be executed at that moment in time.
You guys, I mean, it's been like that forever with quarterbacks though, in practice though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it very similar to that?
Well, I know this: when you have a quarterback that can play, you better find ways to keep that guy healthy.
You mentioned you've got some experience at defensive end. Bogle is a guy that's been around a little bit. When you watched him in film and practice last year and bringing him out to spring practice, what are some things that he needed to work on, and how's he doing so far in the spring?
Well, Bogler's been more of a rush for us this spring. Number one, I think that the maturity and the leadership he's brought to the room, just him being here, I think that's been incredible for our program moving forward. So that's been awesome. You know, I think for him, kind of what we continue to work on is just continue to build great fundamentals. I think that's kind of what our focus is for spring ball. It's not necessarily just we want to learn the scheme, implement those things, but within the scheme, we got to learn how to get off on a block, be able to defeat blocks, be able to pass rush, like those things. And I think he's doing that throughout spring ball.
The transfers.
On Saturday?
Excuse me?
How long did you guys scrimmage on Saturday?
Shoot, I don't know. We went 80 plus plays, I think.
But the most you've done so far this spring?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Your transfers, is it Deuce and Dunnigan?
Yeah.
Is he Deuce inside and Dunnigan's outside? Or just how are things going with that?
Yeah, so both of those guys that came in, they've been a great asset to our program right now. But yeah, so Duce is playing inside, and Dunnigan is playing and a little bit of inside for us.
What about the younger guys? I mean, obviously they brought in some pretty good rush ends in that last freshman class. You got Thompson, who got on the field, but like guys like Joe, some of the other guys that are there. What have you seen from those guys?
They're really talented, and they're really athletic. I think those guys got the skill set to have a great career. Obviously, having just the talent and ability doesn't necessarily make you the best football player just yet. So we're working on that piece. These guys are in high school not too long ago. So we like them a lot. I think those guys got a chance to be really, really good football players. They got some things to learn, but we're really happy they're here with us.
Yeah, what allows them to force their way onto the field?
What's that?
What allows them to force their way onto the field with veterans in front of them?
Well, they just got to do what we're asking everybody to do better than they do. better. And so that's really what it is. You know, if they can get our job ultimately is to put guys on the field that gives us the best chance to win football games. And if they can give us that chance, they'll be on the field.
Specifically with Thompson, he kind of played his way and he filled in for some guys injured midway through the season and kind of took off from there. Just where do you think he's at for being only, I mean, he's technically a freshman, he's going into his sophomore year, but for his youth and just the experience he already has and he's been playing?
I think Jalen is like an old soul, man. Just the kind of way he approaches everything. He's really, really, really mature. Just his, I mean, academically, everything he does is like elite, you know, as a person. And so I think Jalen, just that approach is giving him the opportunity to be a little bit ahead than some of the guys in his class. And then physical attributes. I mean, you don't find too many freshmen that come in, walk into a college building with a college body, with college weight, and then obviously the physical, you know, that he plays with. So, so we're super fired up that he's here. We think we're going to be super fired up about him moving forward. I think he'll probably be a name that's going to fly around this place for a long time.
What's the biggest challenge for guys on the inside moving from a scheme where maybe you're taking on more double teams to getting more aggressive, making plays in the backfield?
I think the biggest challenge is learning the terminology. I mean, we're structure-wise, we're not too much different than what they've been asked to do in the past. We've got to be able to a lot of it just talking to these guys. It's a lot of the similar stuff they've been asked to do in the past. It's just we call it different. I think that's been the challenge is making sure that these guys speak the same language all the time. We all speak the same language and we all mean the same thing. So I would say that's the biggest challenge.
You guys have come from the West Coast. How's the recruiting piece been in terms of getting out, kind of seeing the new area of the country and getting to meet some of the newer coaches?
Yeah.
I guess what's been maybe the surprises with that?
Well, I think I might have said earlier, like, I mean, just a 3-hour radius of this place here, there's a lot of good football. All right, so I think that's probably been a pretty good surprise to us, not knowing what the Midwest is. Obviously, we know the schools, and obviously this conference has a rich traditional championship, so we kind of understand why, because of the rich recruiting that goes on in this area, surrounding states, and even in this state.
That I would imagine too that this camp season will probably be one of the bigger ones for you guys to kind of get integrated into that.
Are you talking about fall camp or?
No, the summer camp season.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll find a way to take advantage of the proximity. I mean, one thing I know about this place is that it's an easy drive anywhere. There's no passes, there's no mountains.
Just construction.
And people drive fast.
Yes, all of the passes are with orange barrels.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Do you guys need to get back to getting the 4-year defensive tackles? It seems like the last couple of years have been kind of overly reliant on the portal to the point where you don't have as many young interior defensive linemen developing. Do you guys need to get back to those high school kids?
I think so. We believe in creating a program here, and I think it's for us, and kind of what we did at our last place. We're using the same recipe in terms of bringing guys in and creating more so a program where if one guy leaves, the next guy steps up. Hopefully, the portals, we got to be able to take advantage of what the portal can offer, but at the same time, hopefully it's something that we use sparingly.
Curious about just what made you want to follow Jonathan Smith here? What is it about working for him, you know, and who is he sort of as a boss and as a leader of the program?
Well, when presented with the opportunity, when Coach Smith and I talked and he presented an opportunity for me to join him here on the staff, I obviously agreed to be here. I agreed not necessarily to Michigan State. I agreed to Coach Smith and the program that I knew I was a part of the last 6 seasons. And then learning about Michigan State while I'm here was kind of a plus and a bonus. And so I'm a big believer in Coach Smith and the experience he tries to create for the student athlete. I think it's an experience that not necessarily creates just professional football players, but hopefully professional people coming out of this place. And that's something obviously we all get in the game for. It brings a lot of joy to me to be able to play elite level football, be around elite level people that I think Coach Smith has done put together here. That locker room that's in there, those are some really, really good boys that we get to spend every single day with. These guys get an opportunity to get an elite education. So all those things, it's really, really, like for me, it's been awesome.
What are the traits you notice in him that like led to the success that you guys had out there?
Well, I think it's just sticking to that process. For us, we believe in developing from the ground up. We didn't skip any steps, and we stuck to it. We were diligent with our process. We're diligent with I mean, the first meeting that we had and their first time together in 2018 is the same meeting that we had years later in terms of how his approach to the game is, his approach to the players. He's very calculated, he's very confident in what he does, and he sticks to the script.
This team had
Where are you-
room.
oh, go ahead.
This team had room to grow, like defensively across the board at every position, basically. As much as like it's important to implement new schematics and get that all down in schemes and stuff, but how important is it also like technique and making sure guys have the right mentality, I guess, especially at your position?
Well, I haven't been around the game long, but the time I have spent around the game, I did learn that this is a player's game, so the players win football games. So our job is to hopefully help the players become the best players they can be. So on Saturday, they are winning football games. So absolutely, our job is to be able to, the fundamentals it takes, the technique it takes. It don't matter what the call is. If they're playing confidently and executing it or executing the techniques that they're being taught to at a high level, we're going to win a lot of ball games.
Where are you from originally?
So I'm from American Samoa. It's a little small island in the South Pacific. It's probably about 3,600 miles southwest of Hawaii, right there on the equator. And so I automatically say that because everybody that's asked me here has followed up is, where is that? So,
Well, here's.
so if you already know it, I
Well, yeah,
apologize.
I was gonna say, that's why I was asking, because I know that, the Pacific Islands, the history that Michigan State's had with that, I don't know how much you've leaned into that yet.
That was something, obviously I knew the big names. Like Baba Pisa was a name I've heard since I started playing this game. And obviously you got Tupi Peko and obviously Domata Peko that's played a long time. Those guys are from the islands, that same island that I grew up on. So,
Charlie Wiedemeyer.
yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
So there's some. I was excited to find out outside of those names there was a lot more that was here, Polynesia. So, for me, we're in there looking for good football players that have good traits to be able to be successful at Michigan State. It was a little special when I found out some of them players came from places that I'm from.
Yeah.
So I grew up in San Diego also as well, so in Oceanside, California. So.
I know you guys have hit Hawaii in this last class, with guys you brought over. Do you kind of tap into that now, I guess, and, is there like that familiarity with being so far away?
There's no question. Priority-wise, the Midwest is where we're gonna focus on, but we do have strong ties in certain areas, and because they've had a history here of guys from the islands do well here. Kale Ane, who's a head football coach at one of the best high schools there in the state of Hawaii, who's now retired. Those are it wasn't like, hey, we're going to a place that's foreign to those guys. Yeah. Michigan State, you walk around the islands, there's a few people walking around with Michigan State shirts on. And so we wanted to tap into that and ride that out.
How have they been receptive? Just because it is not the West Coast where most of the Polynesian-born players or Hawaiian-born players go. Have they been kind of receptive to coming out here and setting up visits and
so
everything?
they haven't really been out here. They've only spent some time on the recruiting visits. I would probably outside of all the great qualities Michigan State had, we had a great relationship with them. So I would say they probably said yes to the people before they said yes to Michigan State. And so but I know this, most of these guys that come to play at this level made a football decision, so it's not necessarily the area where they're from. These guys want to chase the best football they could possibly play and be developed by hopefully who they believe can help develop them the best. So that decision was based on obviously those aspects. And then the rest of it is they're going to have to deal with a little bit of winter weather here, but obviously the fall, the weight room workouts. No matter where these guys go, the script is still the same. And so we're just happy to hear they're willing to do it with us here.